Sharon, let's take that conversation off from there. So the Speaker of the House of Representatives is saying that there should be a harmonized year for budgets, for when the budget should start. But then there's been an extension now of the 2015 budget to March. So when does this new budget begin to run?
Yeah, basically, the first thing we must note is in the current situation, even if the budget is not passed by December, the president or the head of the executive has power to allocate resources till June, 6 months into the year. So, and you know that we had a period where Dr. Misokonjo well, I said, if this thing doesn't get passed by June, we can't pay salaries anymore. Because at that point, it stops running by discretion. And a lot of discretion can still happen on the recurrent side. A lot of discretion can't happen when it comes to the capital expenditure. It has to be well appropriated for. So I think it's something they need to watch closely. For example, in the supplementary budget, salaries of workers from January to March was not put there. It was still running based on 1.8 trillion naira, the salary, the previous salaries for this whole year, January to December. So how do you appropriate that? I think it's something that we have to be more careful. Rather than passing the buck, we should follow the Fiscal Responsibility Act calendar. By September, present your budget. And the MTF by August. September, your budget is by October. October, November, December, 3 months is a good time to look into the budget, ask all the question and pass it. But we are just not methodological in this approach. So we want to, now it's going to create a whole lot of mismatch, things that we can handle in the hand. So I would prefer we stick to the financial year. The guys in the Constitution, who wrote the Constitution, says January. But left that caveat. Any other time the National Assembly could prescribe. I agree to that discretion of the National Assembly to choose those days. But let's, because it's going to create a whole lot of mismatch. That in the year end, we might not be able to manage it anymore. Yeah.
We have an overlapping, and then, of course, like you rightly pointed out, we still have salaries that are pending. As of now, a lot of states are still yet, to actually pay salaries because for want of funds and the rest of it. But taking a look now at this budget and looking at the overlap, so we have 2015 budget going to run up until March 2016,
yeah.
And then most likely, like you already mentioned, maybe 6 months into the new year before we see the 2016 budget actually kick off.
Yeah.
So that means it might have a running period of what? And that just less than 6 months or thereabout.
Yeah, but there was a time that the budget was always extended to March in the first 2 years of President Goodluck Jonathan and Dr. Misokonjo extended budget to March. So
this is not an anomaly?
It's not an anomaly. We always extend budgets to March and say, okay, to give more time for capital project implementation. It has always been happening. But I think at the point, the former minister had to stop. Also because it creates a whole lot of mismatch. Because you have agencies who, because they now have that extension, quickly now begin to do shoddy jobs just to make sure that they can quickly finish up the capital allocations they have. I think the best, and maybe we can say the delay in appointing ministers might have made the budget this late, but the best thing going forward next year, let the process begin early. By September, you present your budget. October, November, December. It's a good time to prepare the budget, but we don't want to keep doing that.
But then, it still begs the reason that we definitely cannot have a January to December budget here.
For next year?
Not even for 2017.
We can, because if we can adjust. Okay, for example, the Middle East economy, the East African community present their budgets in June. And they've already, it's a fixed, even the United States has a date to present its budget over a 2-year period. We cannot just say, oh, and in the fiscal responsibility that I said, this is the period you present your budget, 3 months before the end of the year. Every year, for the last 3 years now, we've been presenting the budget at December 21, 22, 20. We just stick to the calendar. Because in the end, we have mismatch. Okay, for example, the salaries that you're going to pay workers January to March next year, where are you going to put that? Is it in 2015 supplementary that it's not there? Or are we going to put it in 2016 that we're going to start by March? It's going to create some mismatch at the end of the day that we begin to wonder where are we allocating from at every point in time. So it's best let's just follow the rules in the right manner. Because if we say we start in April this year, that means next year we can start in May. Then the upper year we can start. There will be gaps, and it gives room for unnecessary discretion. Yeah.
So looking at the gaps now, do you think that the budget can cater for Nigerians' needs?
I think the budget is fairly good. A lot of wide assumptions, like Bismarck Rwanda said, especially the oil production, especially the deficit is huge. But I think they want to stimulate the economy. But we also need to be very careful about how we want to raise revenues, raise deficits so fast. We should worry more about revenue. We should worry more about taxes. I've not seen a bold move. Okay, the former president put 1.2 trillion naira for non-oil taxes. Now, the current government says 1.4 trillion naira. It's like we've still not cracked the code. to how we can expand CIT, VAT, and custom duties. We've not. For the size of our economy, a custom duty of that size is too small. So we need that. I know we're going to do more with the independent revenue, with the TSA coming on board, but the non-revenue is still where we still need to put more strength on. Because if we keep expanding deficits, okay, we want to borrow 1.8 trillion naira next year. Are we borrowing 1.8 trillion in 2017? Are we going to borrow 1.8 trillion in 2018? Then we already had it close to 6 trillion naira to the debt stock. So we're going to be having. Are we going to keep doing that? We need a holistic sit down on where are we going to, where is the money, where are the leakages, where do we do progressive taxation system that can really expand the
Talking
economy.
about that progressive taxation, the president says smaller businesses will be taxed less, and we're talking about generating revenue from taxes. So for you, let me just quickly get your thoughts on what would you define, or what do you think the president is defining as small businesses?
I think it's not still clear, but there has to be a holistic definition of small businesses. But I think if anybody has a turnover less than 100 million naira in a year, it's a small business. But it has to be two ways. We don't want to raise revenues. We also want to give tax credits to small businesses. It's something that has to go your way. It's always that be smart. There's always that balance. You have to pick one. But I think we also need more of it, because the businesses are taxed enough already. The big businesses. What we just need is expand the dragnet and make more businesses formal. Formalization of business is very critical now, and make sure that we have a formal system. We can look into the South Africa system. There's a very, very good lesson to learn how they shifted gradually from using diamonds and commodities to fund their budget, and now strongly funding the budget from the tax system. Our GDP, tax to GDP is 4.6%. It's the lowest in all the big economies across the world. It's even the lowest in the MINT category. It's one of the lowest in sub-Saharan Africa, lower than even South Sudan and DRC Congo. So we need to do something different.
Shehu Onimide, thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's
always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Shehu Onimide is the CEO at Budget, talking to us, giving us his perspectives, of course, on Budget, Nigeria's 2016 budget. But that's it on today's edition of the program. Thank you so much for spending time with us. If you missed today's edition of the program, you can watch it on youtube.com/channelsweb/Business Morning. I'm Harriet Agbenyi. Well, I can't wish you a profitable day, but I can wish you a happy holiday.